The rain hammered against the windows of our small apartment in Seattle, mirroring the storm raging inside me. I'm Alistair, 44, an IT specialist. I loved my wife, Bronte, more than words could express. Or at least I thought I did. We had been married for 15 years. It started subtly, like the slow creep of fog rolling in off Puget Sound. Bronte, a vibrant and outgoing marketing manager, began to withdraw. Late nights at the office became more frequent. Business trips, once rare, were suddenly monthly occurrences. I chalked it up to the pressures of her job, the demands of climbing the corporate ladder. I wanted her to succeed, but then came the phone calls. Whispered conversations abruptly ended when I entered the room. The way she'd clutch her phone, her knuckles white when it buzzed on the coffee table. The passwords she suddenly placed on everything: her laptop, her phone, even her email. I tried to talk to her. "Is everything okay, Bronte?" I'd ask, reaching for her hand. "You seem distant." She'd brush it off with a practiced smile. "Work is crazy, Alistair, you know how it is. Long hours, demanding clients." I wanted to believe her, I truly did. But the unease gnawed at me, a persistent, irritating itch I couldn't scratch. One evening, Bronte told me she had to fly to San Francisco for a conference. "It's a big one, Alistair," she said, her eyes avoiding mine. "A lot of important clients will be there. I probably won't be back until late Friday." "Okay," I said, trying to sound supportive. "Be careful, I'll miss you." She pecked me on the cheek, grabbed her suitcase, and hurried out the door. As I watched her drive away, a wave of nausea washed over me. Something felt terribly wrong. That night I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, my mind racing, replaying every interaction with Bronte over the past few months. The excuses, the lies, the subtle shifts in her behavior. It all pointed to one horrifying conclusion. She was cheating on me. I knew I had to find out the truth. But how? I'm not a detective. I'm just a guy who writes code and fixes computers. The next morning, driven by a desperate need for answers, I did something I never thought I was capable of. I started snooping. I knew it was wrong, a violation of Bronte's privacy, but I couldn't stop myself. I needed to know. I started with her laptop. I waited until she left for her conference, then carefully opened it, praying she hadn't changed her password again. I tried a few obvious combinations: our anniversary, our dog's name, and finally, on the third try, I was in. Her email was a dead end. Everything had been deleted. But then I remembered something she'd mentioned a few weeks ago: a new cloud storage service she was using to back up her important files. I found the application on her desktop, clicked on it, and held my breath. It opened. And there it was, folder after folder of documents, photos, and videos. I scrolled through them, my heart pounding in my chest. Most of it was work-related stuff. But then I saw a folder labeled Project Nightingale. Nightingale. That was the name of the conference she was supposedly attending in San Francisco. I clicked on the folder. Inside, there were dozens of photos of Bronte and another man. They were kissing, laughing, holding hands, in restaurants, in parks, in hotel rooms. The photos spanned several months, documenting a secret affair that had been unfolding right under my nose. The man in the photos was someone I knew: Kellen, Bronte's colleague, a guy who had been to our house for dinner, a guy I had considered a friend. My world shattered. The floor seemed to drop out from under me, leaving me suspended in a void of disbelief and pain. I stumbled back from the laptop, my legs weak, my vision blurred. I felt like I had been punched in the gut, all the air knocked out of me. I sat there for hours, staring blankly at the wall, the images of Bronte and Kellen seared into my brain. The betrayal was so profound, so complete, that it felt like a physical wound. How could she do this to me? How could she lie to me so easily? How could she betray our marriage, our life together, for this charade? That night, I didn't sleep at all. I replayed every moment of our relationship, searching for clues I had missed, signs I had ignored. Was I blind? Was I stupid? How could I not have seen this coming? By the time the sun rose, I was a shell of my former self, exhausted, heartbroken, and filled with a white-hot rage that threatened to consume me. I knew I couldn't stay in the apartment. I needed to get out, to clear my head, to figure out what to do next. I drove aimlessly for hours, ending up at a secluded beach north of the city. I parked the car, got out, and walked to the water's edge. The waves crashed against the shore, their rhythmic roar a stark contrast to the turmoil inside me. I stood there for a long time, watching the waves, trying to make sense of everything. I thought about Bronte, about our life together, about the future we had planned. It was all gone now, reduced to ashes by her infidelity. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the beach, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let Bronte and Kellen destroy me. I wasn't going to let their betrayal define my life. I was going to fight back. I was going to get justice. I drove home, my mind focused, my resolve hardened. I knew what I had to do. Bronte arrived home late Friday night as she had predicted. She walked into the apartment, her face flushed, her eyes bright. "Hi, honey," she said, throwing her arms around me. "I missed you." I pulled away from her embrace. "We need to talk, Bronte," I said, my voice cold and flat. She frowned. "What's wrong?" I didn't say anything. I just walked over to the laptop, opened it, and pointed to the Project Nightingale folder. Her face paled. Her eyes widened in horror. She knew she had been caught. "Alistair," she stammered, "I can explain." "Explain what, Bronte?" I said, my voice rising. "Explain how you could betray me like this. Explain how you could lie to my face. Explain how you could sleep with another man while I was sitting here missing you." She started to cry. "It just happened, Alistair," she sobbed. "It wasn't planned. It just happened. It just happened," I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You just happened to be kissing him in restaurants. You just happened to be holding hands with him in parks. You just happened to be sleeping with him in hotel rooms." She didn't say anything. She just stood there, crying, her face a mask of guilt and shame. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "You know him, Alistair," she said, her voice choked with tears. "It's Kellen." I closed my eyes, trying to contain the rage that was building inside me. Kellen, the guy who had eaten dinner at our table, the guy I had considered a friend. I took a deep breath and opened my eyes. "Get out, Bronte," I said, my voice calm but firm. "Get out of my apartment. Get out of my life, Alistair, please," she begged. "Don't do this. I'm sorry. I made a mistake." "I still love you." "Love," I scoffed. "If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. You wouldn't have betrayed me. You wouldn't have lied to me." "I can change," she pleaded. "I can make things right. Just give me another chance." "There are no more chances, Bronte," I said, shaking my head. "You threw them all away." I pointed to the door. "Get out." She stood there for a moment, her eyes filled with tears, then turned and walked out the door. I watched her go, my heart aching, my soul empty. I spent the next few weeks in a daze. I went through the motions of daily life, going to work, eating meals, sleeping in my bed, but I felt like a ghost, disconnected from everything around me. The divorce was messy. Bronte tried to fight me on everything: the house, the car, the savings. She even tried to claim that I was abusive, that I had driven her into Kellen's arms, but I had proof. The photos, the emails, the text messages. I presented them to the court, and the judge ruled in my favor. Bronte got nothing. I sold the apartment and moved to a small cabin in the mountains. I needed to get away from the city, away from the memories, away from the pain. I spent my days hiking, fishing, and writing code. I found solace in nature, in the quiet solitude of the wilderness. Slowly, gradually, I began to heal, but the anger remained. The burning, simmering rage that refused to be extinguished. I couldn't forgive Bronte for what she had done. I couldn't forget the betrayal. And then one day I had an idea. I knew that Bronte and Kellen were still together. I had seen them around town, holding hands, looking happy. It made my blood boil. I also knew that Kellen was up for a promotion at his company. A big promotion, one that would significantly increase his salary and status. I decided to do some digging. I used my IT skills to access Kellen's company email server. It wasn't easy, but I managed to bypass their security protocols and gain access to his account. What I found was shocking. Kellen had been embezzling money from the company for years. He had been using company funds to pay for his lavish lifestyle, including the trips he had taken with Bronte. I printed out all the evidence and sent it to the company's CEO, along with an anonymous letter detailing Kellen's crimes. A few days later, I received a call from a detective. Kellen had been arrested. He was facing multiple charges of fraud and embezzlement. He was going to prison. I smiled. Justice had been served, but I wasn't finished yet. I still had one more score to settle. I knew that Bronte was working on a major marketing campaign for her company, a campaign that was crucial to her career, a campaign that could make or break her. I used my IT skills to hack into her company's website and sabotage the campaign. I replaced the marketing materials with embarrassing photos of Bronte and Kellen. I changed the website's code to redirect visitors to a pornographic website. The campaign was a disaster. Bronte's company lost millions of dollars. She was fired. Her career was ruined. I watched it all unfold from my cabin in the mountains, a sense of satisfaction washing over me. Bronte and Kellen had destroyed my life. Now I had destroyed theirs. Was it right? Was it moral? I don't know, but it felt good. It felt like I had finally gotten the revenge I deserved. I know some people might say I went too far, that I should have just moved on and forgotten about Bronte and Kellen, but I couldn't. Their betrayal had scarred me too deeply. I needed to make them pay, and I did. Now I'm alone in my cabin, surrounded by the beauty of nature. I'm still healing, still trying to put my life back together, but I know that I'm stronger now. I'm more resilient. I'm a survivor. And I'll never let anyone betray me like that again. But the story doesn't end here. A few months later, I received a letter. It was from Bronte. She was living in a small town in Oregon, working as a waitress. She was struggling to make ends meet. She had lost everything. She wrote that she was sorry for what she had done. She said that she regretted her affair with Kellen. She said that she missed me. She asked if I could ever forgive her. I stared at the letter for a long time, my mind racing. Could I forgive her? Could I forgive the woman who had betrayed me, who had lied to me, who had destroyed my life? The answer came to me slowly, gradually, like the sunrise over the mountains. No, I couldn't forgive her, but I could let go. I could release the anger, the resentment, the bitterness that had been consuming me for so long. I wrote Bronte a letter back. I told her that I couldn't forgive her, but that I wished her well. I told her that I hoped she could find happiness, even after everything that had happened. I sealed the letter, drove to the post office, and mailed it. As I watched the letter disappear into the mailbox, I felt a sense of closure. I had finally moved on. I returned to my cabin, sat on the porch, and watched the sunset. The sky was ablaze with color, a breathtaking display of beauty and power. I took a deep breath and smiled. I was free. I was finally free. Several years have passed since then. I've rebuilt my life. I have a new job, new friends, and a new perspective on love and relationships. I've learned that betrayal can be a devastating experience, but it doesn't have to define you. You can survive it. You can emerge stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Bronte and Kellen are just distant memories now, ghosts of a past I have left behind. I think of them occasionally, but without anger or resentment. Just a faint sense of sadness for what could have been. I've learned to trust again, to love again, to open my heart to the possibility of happiness. And I know that someday I will find the right person, someone who will cherish me, respect me, and love me unconditionally. Until then, I'm content with my life, with my solitude, with the peace and quiet of my cabin in the mountains. I'm Alistair, and this is my story of betrayal, revenge, and ultimately redemption.